Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the pod. Good morning from Michigan. Right off the bat, this is going to make people mad. I'm sure that it is going to. I actually woke up legitimately like half an hour ago, and my brain just kind of started going. I can chalk that up to a couple different things, but going with ideas of what I wanted to talk about, because I had been asked to talk about a certain topic last podcast, but that was like 3 weeks ago. And I wanted to talk about that. And I also wanted to talk about a couple other things that had to do with the media. I just didn't know what they were yet. And of course, there's always shit going on in the media, right? But I guess I will start off. Oh my gosh, I just pulled out 2 eyelashes from my eye. Like, yikes, that was crazy. I don't know. Anyway, the number one thing, I guess, obviously right now going on is the files, Epstein files, right? And I legitimately was not going to talk about this because I don't care. I'm putting it blankly. Very, very, very point blank, period. Bluntly, I should say. Don't know why I said blankly. Again, woke up 30 minutes ago. I don't care. I care about the victims. That's disgusting, horrible. As someone who is a victim of childhood sexual abuse, it definitely strikes a chord within me. But the blow up of all of this is insane. And if you think that it's not carefully calculated for our viewing, you're out of your mind. If you think that it's not some sort of distraction, propaganda to get us going or divided, you're out of your mind. I also want to point out that you are never, ever, ever going to know the truth because it's carefully calculated. You're never going to know the truth. It's like when you date. This is actually something my mom told me. Very true. She did have some good bouts of wisdom. I will give my mom that. When you date a shitty, fucking, narcissistic prick who lies and who cheats, when you date a cheater, you can try and go down that timeline, right? You can go down that timeline and be like, wait a minute. When he told me he was here, was he really here? When he said this, was he really doing that? You could go and do that until you're blue in the fucking face. You are never going to know the truth, because if you're with a liar and a cheater, which is what the world is filled with, you are never going to know. And I think that on top of this, we are somewhat desensitized with media because, again, something, I heard this on Rogan, but I've also just thought of it in general. We're not supposed to be this connected. We're way too into everything. So we think we need to know everything. We think there needs to be an answer for everything. A kind of an example, it pops in my head. There's a little homesteady influencer that I like. She's very neat, and she's pregnant with her second kid. And she had a DM that said, hey, I really like your content, but I need to know your political beliefs so I can see if I can follow you. Okay, stupid as fuck, dumb as fuck. That person is brainwashed, warped, toast. I can't do this with you because you say this. You can't. Again, I talked about duality on one of the last episodes. You know what I mean? I think it was the last one. I don't know. There's duality to people, and to be so keyed in on shit, it just makes you ill. Why do you think everybody's mentally ill? Why do you think everybody's fat? Why do you think people are on drugs? Why do you think people drink? We're way too connected. You're not supposed to be this connected. We're not supposed to have this much information. And we're only really, really, really upset about And again, it's something to be upset about. I'm not saying the Epstein files aren't something to be upset about. It's absolutely disgusting, right? But this has been going on since the beginning of time. So we're just seeing it because we have the devices and the media and the journalism, if you can call a lot of this journalism, that's funny, but for lack of a better word, journalism. We have all of this so we can see all of it. But, this is something me and Kyle actually have talked about. Everybody says how dangerous the world is, how dangerous the world is. The world's so dangerous. It's like, do you know what was going on like thousands of years ago? There was raping and pillaging every fucking day. Every day. Every day. Motherfuckers dying. People are getting raped. It's horrible. It's terrible. It's tragic. But now I think people are forgetting how comfortably we live our lives. And that actually is going into my second topic, but I'll hold off for a second. We don't seem to understand that it was way more dangerous. It is dangerous, don't get me wrong. There's crazy motherfuckers out there. Crazy. And it is dangerous. But we are, like I said, we are so keyed into everything going on that it is meant on purpose by people to make us feel scared. When really, this is probably, honestly, the safest that the earth has been. I guess I'll say the United States has been. I could be wrong, okay? I am not a fucking genius. I'm a 23-year-old chick who talks shit on her podcast about stuff that I believe in. You don't have to believe this. This is what I believe. But there's cameras everywhere. People have Ring doorbells. We have cameras on the back of our cars. We have phones. There's cameras in every single store. We're monitored 24/7. That didn't happen. People got beat, murders. Like, look at New York way back when. Like, dude, motherfuckers were dying left and right. Like, it's just been like this. It was like that. And it also, people do die. People are murdered, people are raped, people are kidnapped, and it's not good. Obviously, I'm not in here saying that it's not good. But it is way safer. And I think because, like I said, everyone's so keyed in, nobody actually understands that we're in probably the safest times. Things are monitored, and I can't say that they're monitored for everybody's well-being. I will say that. But it's people are just, I don't know. But going back to what I said, like, this has been going on forever. With the Epstein files, kings of all different dynasties and fucking families. Oh, this damn cat's gonna come up here and mess up my mojo. This has been going on forever. There were jeez, see, I knew he was gonna mess up the mojo. I don't know if you heard that. There were teen brides with like 35, 40-year-old men. They're, like I said, raping, pillaging of all these different villages and shit. Like, they're even fucking what? Woody Allen and Elvis? Like, hello, all they're men being interested in not what Megyn Kelly, not barely legal, not underage women, but children and girls. That's the correct terminology. Because I recently saw this Megyn Kelly, who I'm not very familiar with, but anyone who says that is a dumb fucking bitch. A 15-year-old girl isn't barely legal. Me and Kyle sat here and we looked at each other and it's like, isn't barely legal? Like, I always think of just turned 18. I go over it. You know what I mean? And I that's what I think of when I hear that. I think of, oh, she just turned 18. She's barely legal. Not going under. Because then that's a minor. That's a child. And I can say from experience, when I was 17 years old, from, again, my experience, I was a fucking child. Sure, I was a very young woman. I had my period. I had developed a little bit. I had, hormones and desires, and I liked boys and all that stuff. But you're still I still feel like a child, and I'm gonna be 24 this year. But like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Barely legal or underage women. I'm not, whatever. But yeah, that's been going on forever. And I don't know why everybody has somehow forgotten this. And I bring up the kings because I'm talking about people in power. People in power have always desired young people. I mean, even just look at like CEOs of companies now that aren't corrupt and, have pedophile devil rings going on. They want young people. They're the future. There's a certain aura around young people. Now, the aura that Epstein and all of his buddies have seen is a different story, right? But, and I hope I'm making sense. I think I am. I'm still waking up here, so give me a little grace. But yeah, this was all stuff that I was laying in my bed thinking about. I'm like, I need to record. And again, people in power desire, once they get enough of the fun shit, like you can only buy so many bottles of expensive tequila and fucking 8 balls of cocaine and the best weed on the planet and go on as many vacations till like what I believe, like with Diddy and all these people of celebrity, your brain starts to get fucked up, warped, because you're put on a pedestal. You have people that rely on you. You have people that love you. You have people that adore you. You have people that will bow down to you. Then, if you're someone like Epstein, and there's many people that are like him in the sense that people are being blackmailed by that person, you have dirt on other people, then it starts to get into like a weird, twisty, fucking sick game that people do. And I think that the whole devil ball Moloch type thing, that's been going on for like years, since I was born. Like that's been like an interest of people of power. And, I think that truly does come from a place of people have too much power. They have too much, the narcissism, of course, which is big topic we talk about on this fucking channel. But they get warped, and it's almost like, I think of the Twilight Zone right now. That's what's coming in my head, where it's like you can get, or the genie, you get all these wishes, and they never really fulfill you. So then you go deeper and you do weird shit. Like the guys that are having the weird porn addiction right now. And they have to watch like crazier and crazier shit to get off or whatever. Like that's this to me. That's how I see it. And people, like I've said before, people in power, men in power, desire youth. I don't know all of the specifications on why. I know that they are inappropriate. I know that there's probably trauma in their life. I know that they're disgusting. But that's what's been going on forever. And then also, dudes like puss. I don't know what to say. That's referencing Tim Dillon here. Excuse me, I got a cough. And it's like, dudes, that's at the base of our beings. When we look at it primally, and this is by no means excusing anything that anyone's done. I'm talking about just being primal. And I look at my relationship with Kyle, actually. This is, again, not related to that. Kyle's 12 years older than me. I'm young. I'm fertile. He's older. He's becoming more established. That's it. That's something that has been going on primally forever. I mean, animals do that. They see the younger of the what do they call a fucking female cow? A heifer. You know, they see a younger heifer. They see a younger gorilla, whatever the fuck, and they know that she will definitely be fertile. So I don't know if it's like that, like if there's a weird kink that those people in power have about that. I think a lot of it's control. I think a lot of it, like I said, is like we know, is the devil shit. And honestly, you know, these topics that I'm talking about today are actually really like connected, because like I've mentioned on here before, and I'll probably get back to talking about him in just a second, but this has to do with it. You know, the United States of America was built on Christian values. I myself am trying to become a Christian. I believe I am. I have the morals of a Christian. I'm working on my faith. The devil being within the society and within the people in power isn't surprising to me. I think of what Adam and Eve and eating the apple or eating from the tree, and it's once you get enough money, you can go eat from whatever fucking tree you want, right? And that is something that is, I think, undeniable, because I think a lot of people are just looking at how crazy this is, but they're not looking at the fact that, you know, I am a proud American. I want to be a prouder American. But this country was built on Christian values, and we have strayed so far away from that I worry we will never get back. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with every single Christian value. I'm trying to understand them. That's what I'll say. But if we look at the values of actual good Christians, not the ones that tell you have to do this, you have to do that, or you're sinning, or you're going to hell, or whatever. Not those. The people that forgive, the people that forgive and give. The ones that do for others, not out of narcissism and wanting to be liked, but just because they know it's the right thing to do. The ones who have families and root themselves in them. You look at the morals of those people, and you cannot argue that they are good morals to have. You know, I look at the commandments, right? A couple of them are like, shall not steal, don't fuck your neighbor's wife. Just those two alone, it's like, yeah, we should all kind of like not do those. Let's just not. All of them are like, they're good enough. They're decent enough. And I'm not saying we can't expand on those. But, I mean, again, we've strayed so far away. I am truly, as someone who's learning to be a good Christian, failing and getting back up in that endeavor. And I'm looking around, and I'm, you know, like I've talked about on here before, I grew up in the most liberal fucking area in Michigan. And I'm looking around at the beliefs of these people and what they believe to be important, what they're hanging from their windows. And it's very self-centered, and it's just very, very ungodly. And I'm not saying that everyone has to believe in God. Everybody can do whatever the fuck they want to do. But if we aren't going to make a correlation to the lack of Christian values that we have now in this world to what the fuck's going on, then I just do it. Like, just look at it. You know what I mean? So with the Epstein and like all the fucking, you know, like the cannibalism bullshit and the fucking, this child sacrifice and like it, the devil truly does walk among us. He has for a long, long time. So none of this is surprising. I think the stuff I talked about, you know, how like earlier there was the raping and pillaging and, you know, kings getting really, really young teen brides and shit like that. I think that religion wasn't something that was either pronounced or clarified to some people yet. In that regard, not that that's an excuse for anything that had been done in in history, but I think we can look at it and see that we did come to a period of time that we were clear in our Christian values. America was good with that. We did for our neighbor. We minded our business, but helped people with their, you know what I mean? Like, there was a balance. There was an understanding of normal moral behavior in society. And now that's not here. And that can go for anything, not just the fucking pedophile devil worshiper ring that's going on. But I guess what I wanted to say about all that Epstein shit is kind of already said. Like, I already mentioned everything. But again, I can't... People being so surprised and so caught up in it, it shows me they've still just got such a hold on people. They've got such a hold on people because they will get you to look at whatever the fuck you can look at. I'll say that. Like, whatever they're going to put out, there will be people that are absolutely fascinated with it. But I look at the people that are fascinated with it and just engrossed in it. And then I guess I'll say this. The people that are engrossed in it and so caught up in it, look at your life. Work on yourself. Go for a walk. Play with your children. That's real shit that you can control. That's your locus of control. You are never, ever, ever going to be able to change anything within the government at all. Nothing. Unless we somehow stop being divided and dividing the LGBT, dividing the BLM, dividing the Jews, dividing the whites, and then dividing it, like, just dividing all the Republican, Democrat, fucking liberal, conservative, all these people, just divide. If we can come together, like, that's what this should have done. Is this and it didn't, which is just crazy. It's like, this should have been like, everyone should have just stopped and been like, yo, I know I don't like your shit, you don't like my shit, but like, this shit's ran by devil worshipping fucking pedophiles. We gotta do something. Like, we all should have come together, but yet it still kept us divided. You know what I mean? So I just think it's crazy. Of course it is crazy. Like, everything is so fucking nuts. But shit, I was saying something before. Damn it, I forget. I hate when I get on my little tangents. Well, anyway, like, kind of like I guess I was saying, it's you're surprised. This should have people are really, really surprised by this. I don't know why people are surprised by this. It makes complete sense to me. It makes no sense and complete sense. But like I said, all of this has been going on for years and years and years. We just have the ability to see everything that's going on. So it seems like it's coming upon us and attacking us, when really it's all curated to do so. It's curated to make us worry. It's curated to make us distracted. All kind of like the locus. Like, focus on what you can do for yourself. Because there is no, like, these people, and also you're not going to talk sense into people who are part of a fucking pedophile devil ring. So what is it that people actually think they're going to be able to change? I mean, I'm glad some of the people are saying, well, at least it's coming to the light. And it's like, I suppose, but we already knew this, because Hollywood and celebrity it's always been disgusting. They've always been like this. They've always been in underage people. I think about even way back to like what Wizard of Oz with what is it, Judy Garland? I think it's maybe, but she was like, what, young? She was really old Not like really, really old. That's not what I mean. To just make a long story short, like they abused the shit out of her on set from what I've heard, or at least her mom did or something. This is all a vague recollection. Made her smoke cigarettes to keep her small. And then also like all of the modeling shit that's been going on, like and the eating disorders, and there's ugly all over is what I'm trying to say. The gist of all of this messy fucking, you know what? If I'm a mess talking about the Epstein files, I think that's actually very fitting because the whole thing's a fucking mess. But there's a big, gross, ugly mess everywhere. Everywhere. Within every fucking category. You're not going to find anything that's at all in the media that's going to be clean. Squeaky clean? You got to be fucking kidding me. You're not going to find it. You aren't going to find it. So focus on you. Focus on your damn chickens, your dog, your kid, your art, your friends, your family, because worrying about the crazy shit that has been going on in the world for centuries isn't going to do anything. This has been going on, I'm sure, since the dynasties in China, bro. Like, like pedophilia is nothing new. It's nothing to accept. I'm not one of them motherfuckers that thinks that, well, if we gave them the right meds, or it's not really their fault. No, I don't give a fuck. Nope. Pedophiles can die. That's my, I had a friend back in the day. I'm 23. I'm such an asshole. It feels like I've lived a million lives though, and I've told stories on here, so I'm sure you guys can understand. But there was a guy that I hung out with for a little second, and, he had a very similar belief that I have now. But again, I was in a really liberal area in Michigan, so I didn't agree with them. So I ended up bouncing like a lot of liberals do. Like, oh, you don't agree with what I'm saying? I'm leaving. Instead of having a constructive conversation. But he had a hat that said, kill your local pedophile. And I'm not necessarily saying that needs to be what happens, but, it reminded me of that. I thought I'd throw in a little factoid for you. But yeah, the Epstein files are fucking disgusting. It's horrible, but it's not new. This isn't new. So I just wish people would be able to sit and realize that none of this is new. Men in power, underage women, it's almost sickeningly normal. Now the devil shit, that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense though. Again, like there's been demon worshipers since the very beginning. I mean, so all of this isn't new. It just feels new because this is the era that we're living in. And that's how I'll conclude that one. It just shows that media is winning. It's getting us outraged. It's getting people talking. It's getting people upset. And it's a waste of fucking time. Again, I think everybody that was in that shit should be held accountable. I think the way that it's being handled, I will say this, and I know I just said it was the end of that topic, but the way that it's being handled is what I'm the most frustrated about. I'm not frustrated that this shit happened because I'm not surprised by it. I'm mad, again, for the victims of this, and then the people that are fleeing, like what Oprah fled, and then they say what Tom Hanks fled, or what, I don't know who the fuck's involved, but ironic, right? The way that it's being handled, like, go look up, guys, Tim Dillon talking about Pam Bondi, because you're going to piss your pants fucking laughing. Because the way that they're talking to the American people, and this is kind of where I get with these types of topics. Sorry, I want to make sure I'm still good here. Oh, wow, we're going on 30 minutes. The way that it's being handled is the most insulting thing to the American people that I'm not going to say that's the most insulting thing ever, because the way that they talk to us all the time and everything that they hide from us is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Just like everybody kind of knew that the files were a thing. Everybody knew that there was some weird shit going on. There's aliens, whatever the fuck. Everybody has their own all these things that were conspiracy theories that are now being proven to be true. It's like everybody's always kind of had an inkling. Again, nobody can really truly think that any big corporation, any big entertainment, any big celebrity, any big politician, or anything to do with politics, you can fucking what, like the like changing the oil, putting the thing down there and come back and having it be like what, squeaky fucking clean or whatever the hell. That's never gonna happen. There's dirt everywhere. It's dirty everywhere. But the way that they have talked to us since the beginning of time, the shit that they've covered up for years. I mean, since, but like before I was born and on and on and on before. Like crazy. It's always been like this. But how they talk to us and what they think we don't understand and what we don't know is insulting. But now it's kind of the point, Tim Dillon actually said something else where it's like, I think of it as like a shitty parent where they're like, fine, here, you want to know? Here's the files. Now you know. Even though like a whole bunch of shit's redacted and everything. But it's like, here, now you know. Happy? But then they're still in power so they don't have to do anything about it. So you're always going to be like chasing this like thing. You're going to be chasing to try and get justice that the people in power are the ones that are in control of. They're in control of that justice. And they're going to see to it that it doesn't happen. Because they aren't trying to lose money. And then now we can see they're not trying to lose their lives either. They're not trying to lose their children's lives either. Because that's how deep, dark, and fucking twisted this world is. And it's been like this forever. Blackmail and prostitution. Some of the oldest fucking shit in the book. Now, I got asked on my comments to talk about assisted suicide. The whole death with dignity thing. I believe this is what this person was talking about. So this is what I'm going to talk about. Now, I think that if you're old as fuck and you're sick as shit and that's what you want to do, that's you. But I wanted to make a connection to something I talk about a lot with Kyle. And as you guys know, I am pretty holistic, somewhat, in my approaches to health. I've talked about how I hate Big Pharma. That isn't to say that I don't appreciate some of the things that they can do. Like, for instance, like I've been open with like my drug use, being on Adderall on here. I say drug use, and I had someone fucking one time say some shits like, I smoked pot. That was it. I've had substance abuse issues with marijuana and alcohol. All to cover up from the disassociation from my childhood, which has now led me to have ADHD. So now I do take Adderall again. I was off of it for 2 months. Now I'm on it. We're having a lot of big life changes. I need a little bit of help. So I'm not saying that Big Pharma is a complete fucking, ass. They are for the most part. But hey, I've had broken bones. I've got metal in both my hands. I needed help, right? I had a knee reconstruction. Didn't work. So kind of have a balance there of like, hey, my wrists are actually pretty good. My knee sucks though. So I kind of can go back and forth on that. Growing up, going to the doctor, having a lot of problems. I've had a lot of issues. I don't think they ever got to the root cause of the problem, in which I believe it was the abuse I endured as a child. And that was a cause for a lot of the reasons I was sick. Some of it genetic, but a lot of it I believe to be because of the abuse I was dealing with. But they never seem to ask these questions, right? Man, I could go on and on, but I'm going to stay on this topic, okay? So Big Pharma to me has its pluses. I appreciate like the technology advances that technological advances that they've been able to make, the help they've been able to give people. I do think that some of it's great. But when we're talking about assisted suicide, which is now legal in 13, I believe, different states, Most of them being ones that I believe to be semi-liberal, Democrat, blue, which I don't know if there's a connection there. Maybe, probably. But I did notice that. And I wanted to make the connection. Sorry, I got a little distracted. I want to make the connection with birth. The lack of presence that we have within birth right now. And I'm trying to get my thoughts together because, again, this will make people mad. But I truly believe this. And what I was saying is, like, we live too comfortably, right? When I was talking about the Epstein files. We have a huge problem with gluttony in this country. And when I say gluttony, I have my own kind of definition with this. Gluttony, to me, with my definition, can mean food, right? You can think of the kings and the royals that ate ridiculous amounts of food and they were heavy. But I think about the utter luxury that we have in this country that has removed us so far from nature. Our ancestors didn't have any of the fucking problems that we have, or they didn't deem them as problems then. When I think about assisted suicide, I guess if you truly are going to die from something and you're in utter like amounts of pain, you know, I guess there's a little wiggle room there. Again, I'm not like this. I don't do this. That's not something I would do, but people are going to have their own things. But what I mean by the gluttony and the removal of nature is I'm relating it to the birth stuff that's going on now with women and how they give birth and how they've been giving birth for decades now. I'm going to talk about that, and hopefully me talking about that will be able to help you connect to what I'm talking about with the assisted suicide. We have now made giving birth a event in which a woman doesn't even need to be fully present and in her body. Giving birth is a spiritual, insane, deeply, and I'm not saying, because I talked about this with Kyle the other day, trauma isn't necessarily always a bad thing. So I'm going to say that it could be a traumatic experience. Your body definitely endures trauma. You know, you have a dinner plate sized wound in your body. But this is an experience in which a woman needs to be whole as much as she can, body, mind, and spirit. We are taking women, we're giving them drugs, we are laying them on their back, which is completely unnatural to give birth in. Like, that position to give birth in is not normal. And we are basically not letting them feel. And I'm not talking about the pain. I'm talking about the anything that goes on with birth. You know, with Big Pharma and everything, we have taken away the autonomy from ourselves. We have chosen to outsource everything instead of keeping it within a circle in which we trust, or just within ourselves. We have given up what it means to say, I'm okay with what's going on in my body right now. In believing that, we're now running to doctors just for somebody else to tell you that you are okay. Hopefully you're with me so far. Outsourcing like this doesn't just make Big Pharma money, make you go to doctor's appointments. It's removing the connection that you have with yourself, God, and nature. Women for thousands of years were giving birth however they needed to give birth. And some of those babies died. That happens with every female species. It is survival of the fittest. Kind of similar-ish to what I was talking about with the files. We believe there must be some sort of answer for everything. And sometimes there simply is not. And there's no reason to know everything, because you aren't ever going to know everything. You aren't going to know if that baby in you is going to survive until you give birth, you're taking care of it, and he's 18, 20, 22, walking out the door. And you still don't know if your kid's going to survive for as long as you would hope that they would. So, and I know this is kind of a broad, vast topic, and I'm having a hard enough time trying to get all of these ideas out myself. I try to write them down, but it just kind of gets all jumbled in whatever. But, you know, I think it's gluttonous with how women give birth. And I don't think it's necessarily our fault. We've been trained to outsource. We've been trained to give up our autonomy to people who are making money off of us. That's what we've been trained to do. Why do you think they got rid of home ec in high school? Why do you think they got rid of woodworking? They got rid of any trades, because then you'll know how to fix things yourself. Oh, we can't have that. We need to be making money. So now here comes the generations of people completely detached from themselves, their own capabilities and their own autonomy. And we are immediately told to go do, go give, instead of looking within ourselves for the answers. We are so far from connected with ourselves that it is utterly depressing. I see what I see, and I know what I know. So this is only my opinion. But I think of these women that are planning their C-sections. They're going to every single doctor's appointment, which allegedly, and I do believe this, ultrasounds have never been proven to be safe for babies. And when you think about it, I don't think it's necessarily the most natural thing to be doing. Again, Big Pharma has made great technological advances, and they do save lives. But when it comes to something that women have been doing for thousands of years, all of a sudden nobody's giving birth with their family around them, enduring the pain, awakening in this spiritual moment. They're not doing this anymore. They're giving all of their power to doctors, to nurses. They are quite literally laying on their back, letting these things happen to them. My cat is so loud drinking that water over there. And I think that, the system has completely brainwashed people, especially the medical care system, because it's a big, big money thing. But, we're taught to outsource everything. And now we're outsourcing our happiness, with the antidepressants and the anti-anxiety meds and all that. And this is, it's in my opinion, and it's a very weird way to relate to assisted suicide. But I just think that we've gotten way too comfortable in this world. And now we're taking away anything that God had planned for us by putting man in everywhere where he does not belong. I don't think that you should be able to choose when you die. Why would you? No one ever has before. Being on this planet, so birth to death here is truly a blessing. And it isn't necessarily yours. I believe that your life is somewhat yours, but I also believe that everyone is put here by God for a purpose that he needs you to serve. And you could say the universe needs you to serve if you don't believe in God, whatever the fuck, okay? But the manpower that has come through and has been dictating lives and the amount of control and the amount of what word am I looking for? You know, there's free will, there's choice, but you know, I think again, being so far removed from Christian values has destroyed this country. And no one should be able to choose when you die. And I don't think that, you know, with the medical care system and the, you know, pregnancy and birth with, you know, all these women, which I'm very glad people are still having babies, don't get me wrong. There's too much manpower. And I believe that giving birth is supposed to be a painful experience. I believe that it's supposed to be a somewhat distressing experience, especially if you've never done it before. You know, once you get one down, you know, you might be a bit more prepared for your second. You're supposed to feel nervous. Anxiety is something we're supposed to have. But now we're not worried about hunting and being hunted. We're worried about emails, and we're worried about phone calls, and we're worried about bake sales. So our anxiety in our mind is doing something stupid. But really having anxiety and being fearful, those are all normal things. Those are the normal things that people have faced for centuries. And that is what made all the people before this Gen Z, I'll say millennial, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, pussies. And now people are choosing not to have children because I'm not trying to be an Uber driver for some kid that doesn't appreciate it. Being a parent is never supposed to be easy. Never. That's not what it is. It's a challenge and it's rewarding. But now there's this luxury of so much choice instead of following nature and God. I hope that this made sense. I hope that connection somewhat makes sense. It's very hard for me to try and explain because it feels very spread out in my head. But maybe after this pod, I'll have it more, you know, attuned to me. But I genuinely think that being so removed from nature is killing all of us. And you can just simply look at the food that we're eating. It is not ancestrally appropriate at all. And it's killing people. And it's giving people depression. It's giving people heart attacks, dementia, diabetes. They didn't deal with any of this back then because they dealt with the hard shit. They ate the real shit. That's what they did. And so just giving up your autonomy and when saying, you know, with this assisted suicide thing, it's like, I thought of it as like a mental health standpoint because I thought there was a country doing that where it's like, if you're really depressed, you just want to die, you can. I think that that's pussy behavior in that regard. I think it's pussy behavior. And I think that everyone has, again, adapted to this luxury where they can just choose everything for their life instead of giving a little bit of that control, if not all of it, as we should, to God. Because who the fuck wants that control? Look at how stressed out everybody is because everybody has all this control. Let it go. So I think that people that want to end their life and now there's this death with dignity, I think that everybody could die with dignity. I think that if you live a good, grounded, good moral based life, you would die with dignity. So that quote is stupid. Again, if you're old as fuck and you're tired of being in pain, I mean, I guess, again, like I said, a little wiggle room. But if there's hope for you, and even if not, you need to wait it out until that time comes. Because I can't help but wonder, if you pull the plug on yourself, even if you are a Christian or if you're whatever, which I don't think that they would do, because, right, suicide's like a sin. Are you even going to be able to get into that spiritual realm after life? Because you put man, look at where they've put man. Look at where they've put man and how none of those things have worked. But look at where God can be placed in those situations, or energy can be placed in those situations. And things are absolutely beautiful. You know, now they have like man-made storms and shit, you know, and you must never fuck with Mother Nature. And now people are, because there's too much man in the world. They didn't leave any room for God. And now disaster is striking. So, kind of going back to what I meant with women and how birth is just absolute. To me, it's so unnatural. It's so unnatural in all regards. The hospital, who wants to smell that smell while they're in labor? And then they're telling you can't eat. You have to have a catheter and piss while you're laying in bed. This is not right to me. And I hope, again, that you can understand the connection with God, with the natural order of things, with ancestral living, to the assisted suicide, and what I'm talking about right now with birth. It isn't supposed to be this way. You aren't supposed to have this much freedom. You aren't supposed to know, and even knowledge of everything going on, like I said earlier. You aren't supposed to know what's going to happen. You know, a lot of these people that do the home births, I think that they have a strong understanding of survival of the fittest. Animals in the wild do, and we somehow forget that we're animals because we have our nails painted and we have the choice of what our hair looks like and the clothes that we'd like to wear. But we are animals, and for years and years and years, you died when you died, and you came alive when you came alive. So, and I do think there's things that are preventable, right? But I think that has to do with diet, and I think a lot of people are confused on what the actual diet should be. The diet that you should be on is ancestral, but that's, again, my opinion. But I think it's unnatural, and I do think, in a way, if you can understand, it's gluttonous to plan the way that we plan. I think it's nice to be able to plan when you'd like to have a baby. Don't get me wrong, of course. When you have financial things going on, family things, work, I understand. That's a luxury that we have now, because you can figure out when you're ovulating and you can figure out when you'd like to conceive, all that shit, you know what I mean? But, to go to all these doctor's appointments and follow the guidelines of a system that only cares about us either being sick or needing them so they can make money, instead of just listening to your body, we're all out of tune. Something my therapist has told me. Everybody has separation anxiety because everybody is separated from their mind and their body. Everyone. It's hard not to be. But there's so many people who don't even know that. They're not working on it, and they don't care. So they just eat, eat all the crumbs that the system drops for them, instead of focusing on not outsourcing and what they could do from within. Oh, geez, so many noises. But I think it's completely unnatural to have a completely planned pregnancy. They tell you, you can't go past this certain amount of weeks. It's like, why? Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Just not ready yet. Forcing. People are breaking water. They do that. They break your water. And it's like, it's just not natural. This isn't what's supposed to be happening. And I'm not saying that there can't be good medical intervention, okay? I'm saying we're not even giving our bodies a chance. We're not giving God a chance. We're not giving energy, the world, a chance, because we're grasping it with all of these rules and regulations and just going and walking blindly with it, instead of actually being attuned to what we did back then. That worked. It worked. People weren't as sick or at all. They were healthy. We were well at one point. We were spiritually attuned to earth. And if you aren't spiritually attuned to earth, I know we have luxuries now. I enjoy watching my television, okay? But if you're not attuned to earth, if you don't go outside, you're to me, you're just another victim of the system. I mean, it's so dreadfully important. And I just think I think it's so unnatural. It's the planned C-sections and all these scans and the diabetes testing with pregnancy, all this stuff. When I'm talking about pregnancy, and it's just, instead of just leaving you the fuck alone, grow your baby in peace. Stop being poked and prodded and told what to do. Listen to yourself. So as you can tell, yes, I'm an advocate for home birth. I'm an advocate for the natural order of things. And I think that I often get frustrated with people who don't see it that way. But at the same time, I know that the system got me too. But I'm becoming more and more conscious each day. So I can't expect these people to know what I know. But I just wish that there was an understanding that these people could get. I wish that I could reach people, and I wish people could get different information that was worthwhile instead of just shit from doctors. But instead of just talking and just going with all of these things that clearly haven't fucking worked. Sure, there's lots of healthy babies out there that were born in the hospital, okay? But it's like, this planning C-sections and breaking water. It just, to me, goes against every part of nature. And that is the most natural thing on the planet. Besides fucking bowel movements, but in certain emotions, right? Giving birth is the most natural thing. And now we're doing it in such a sterile environment. And giving and dying is a natural thing. And I think a lot of death is preventable if you eat correctly and you become whole body, mind, and spirit. But death isn't something that you should get to choose either. Just like I don't think that you should just get to choose when you want to have your stomach cut open to have your kid ripped out. And again, I'm not judging these moms that have done that, because I know you didn't know any better. I know you have your own beliefs. These are my beliefs. But I think that both of those things on the spectrum of living and dying are unnatural. You don't get to pick when you die. So I guess I would say I'm against it as well, because, and for my reasoning is, it goes against the natural order of things. And, something else I wanted to mention is, if this is in the case, I'm not sure if this is the case where, if you're just mentally unhappy, you can choose whether you want to be alive or not, which you kind of get to anyway. But now it's the talk of assisted suicide, not just regular suicide, which, how regular is that? But it's unnatural. And if it is strictly from a mental health standpoint, which is what I'm talking about now, physical too, I think you need to feel what you need to feel and deal with what you need to deal with. Dying is painful. Giving birth is painful. Now, I don't know who, I'm sure there's been cases where I could say, hey, them being able to choose that might be helpful for them and their families. Okay, I could see that. But again, if we're talking from a mental health standpoint, you're a fucking pussy. And I've dealt with my own fair share of mental illness. There's podcasts on here that show me going through it, okay? But you need to get help. You need to talk to people. I would even say brief, correct, not over medicated, but correct medication can help. You know, like with how I'm using my Adderall as a tool, I'm not necessarily happy. I don't want to be on this. The diet that I eat usually makes it so that I don't need to take anything because I eat the way I'm supposed to eat. But I also, I don't know, like I've said, dealt with some really nasty shit in my life, and I've been disassociated for a while, so it's hard for me to tune back in. So I think that there is a good use of medication for your mental well-being. But if you just are saying that you want to, you know, have assisted suicide because you're depressed and you're tired of dealing with it, you know, I'm hesitating even saying this. I think everybody is worth a shot on this planet. But if you're willing to give up that quickly, then what are you going to contribute to this planet anyway? Take of that what you will. But I do think that we have a lot of people on this planet who are freeloading spiritually, financially. And if that's... It's a dark concept. I'm not encouraging anyone to fucking go kill themselves. Like, are you kidding? That's not what I'm saying. But make your life worthwhile. You don't just get to play God and call out, I'm done. No. But if you're the type of person that thinks of doing that anyway, then I think that your mentality isn't something we necessarily need more of on this planet. So, and again, take of that what you will. But I guess that's my point on assisted suicide. And of course it's dark, like what I just said is dark, but the topic's dark. So, but I think everybody can reverse that. I think, so I said what I said, but I also think that people can find a passion and find their worth in something and work on themselves, and be better. But if you're someone who's willing to just give up that quickly, then, and there are people, I will say this too, there are people that do seem to be lost causes. Again, take of that what you will. So, I think, but I will say that I think there's very few people in this world that there's a subgroup of people that we are better without in this world. And I think the main one is what we talked about at the very beginning, pedophiles. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Don't need that. Don't need you corrupting and ruining lives of innocent children. You know, I think there's, you know, people who are murderous and torturous, if they wanted to do assisted suicide, you know what I mean? Like these types of people, or the people that are quite literally like so brainwashed that they are disrupting other people's lives with weird propaganda, maybe they don't need to die, but they need some help and they need to get it. But it's a kind of a complicated topic, I suppose. So, yeah, the death with dignity thing, I think you can die with dignity in the natural way. And again, you will die with dignity if you do what you need to be doing. And having assisted suicide and playing God is not dying with dignity. Again, like I mentioned, there's people out there that are probably in immense pain, that are old as shit, that again, wiggle room, in my opinion, I suppose. But I think the gluttony and the luxury that we have in this country and in this world in general is just too much. And God is not involved, nature isn't involved, and that's why there is so much misalignment and disruption and corruption. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about that, when I'm thinking about God, assisted suicide seems very, very, very demonic. Like that is something that the devil is calling people to do. And then when you think about it from that point of view, and after what I had said, those people are, if you think of it spiritually, those people are going to the devil anyway. You know, ending point. The best quote I've heard that I'm sure is kind of going around these days. The devil doesn't make the ones he already has work harder. I work hard. I work through my shit. I'm fighting for my life sometimes because I'm a fighter and the devil doesn't have me. But it may look like there's an easy life for those people that the devil already has, and that's true. And assisted suicide is the easy way out, I think. And I'm thinking of it mentally. And I think it's gluttonous, just the way that, you know, all of this weird, luxury, tainted, odd way of giving birth is gluttonous, where it's just you're not connected to your mind or your body at all, and you're feeding into the system, and you're just, some of these people I think are just having children because they want to have children, and they're doing it the easiest way possible. And then people don't even give their bodies and their mental enough credit. They just are just giving off their autonomy. So, yeah, I hope that this podcast made sense. It's a long one. I think my topics were deep and relevant, and yeah, the assisted suicide thing is an interesting thing to talk about. It's I think it's a little complicated, but it's also simplified enough to where if you're a believer, then you know. And if that's what you choose to do, then that mental strength either wasn't there to begin with, or you didn't want to work for it and you're being lazy. So if that's what you want to do, we don't need more lazy people. So everybody has their own freedom, right? Everybody, too much of it, in my opinion. But yeah, and again, that's dark, and you can say whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a shit. But like I've always said on here that I'm pretty comedic, and comedians say fucked up shit. So, and I'm pretty comedic, and I say fucked up shit. I've also been decently traumatized, so I'm gonna say fucked up shit because I've lived through it. I've lived through this shit. And if you want to take that easy way out, then motherfucker, please. But I'll catch y'all next time. Have a good one. Bye.